Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The wind howled, rattling the windows of the old pickup truck as it crawled along the winding mountain road. Rain pelted the windshield in sheets, overwhelming the worn wipers that squeaked back and forth in a futile effort to maintain visibility. Behind the wheel, Jack gripped the steering wheel tightly, squinting to make out the faint lines on the pavement through the deluge. His knuckles were white from tension as he leaned forward, shoulders hunched. The cab of the truck felt oppressively small, the thundering of rain on the metal roof almost deafening. Come on, he muttered under his breath. There's got to be somewhere to wait this out. He'd been driving for hours, trying to outrun the storm that had seemingly appeared out of nowhere. What had started as a scenic drive through the mountains to clear his head after a bad breakup had turned into a white-knuckle fight for survival as the skies opened up. Now, as night fell and the tempest raged on, Jack was beginning to fear he'd made a grave mistake in pressing onwards. A flash of lightning illuminated the road ahead, and Jack's heart leapt as he caught a glimpse of what looked like a driveway branching off into the woods. He slowed the truck, peering through the gloom. There. Another flash revealed a wooden sign, though the words were indistinguishable in the split second of visibility. With no other options presenting themselves, Jack made the snap decision to turn onto the narrow dirt road. The truck jolted and bounced as he navigated the rutted path, branches scraping against the sides of the vehicle. After what felt like an eternity of creeping forward, the headlights finally fell upon a structure looming out of the darkness. It was a cabin, sturdy-looking and larger than Jack had expected. 2 stories tall, with a covered porch wrapping around the front, it stood as a welcome beacon of shelter amidst the raging elements. Warm light spilled from curtained windows, a tendril of smoke rising from a stone chimney despite the downpour. Jack pulled the truck up close to the porch and cut the engine. For a moment, he sat in silence, listening to the staccato of rain on the roof and psyching himself up to make a dash for the door. Taking a deep breath, he zipped his jacket up to his chin and opened the door. The wind nearly ripped it from his grasp as he stumbled out into the storm. Hunched against the deluge, Jack splashed through deepening puddles and took the porch steps 2 at a time. He pounded on the heavy wooden door, praying the cabin's occupant would hear over the howling gale. "Hello?" he called out between thunderous booms. "Is anyone home? I'm sorry to bother you, but I need shelter from the storm." Just as he raised his fist to knock again, the door swung open. Warm light and the scent of wood smoke spilled out as Jack found himself face to face with the cabin's resident. His eyes widened in surprise. Standing before him was a striking figure. Tall and lithe, with delicate features framed by cascading waves of chestnut hair. Full lips parted in an uncertain smile, revealing perfect white teeth. But it was the eyes that captivated Jack. A mesmerizing swirl of green and gold that seemed to shimmer in the flickering firelight. It took him a moment to realize he was staring. Jack blinked, shaking his head slightly as he found his voice. "I'm so sorry to intrude," he stammered. "My truck, the storm. I saw your lights and hoped—" He trailed off, suddenly aware of how bedraggled he must look, dripping onto the threshold. The figure in the doorway tilted their head, regarding Jack with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. When they spoke, the voice was a rich contralto, colored by a slight southern drawl. "Well now, looks like you've had quite the adventure getting here, sugar. Why don't you come on in out of that mess, and we'll get you dried off." They stepped back, gesturing for Jack to enter. As he crossed the threshold, He couldn't help but notice the curious contrast between the cabin's rustic exterior and its eclectic interior. Overstuffed leather armchairs shared space with delicate Victorian side tables. Landscape paintings in heavy gilt frames hung alongside colorful abstract pieces. A massive stone fireplace dominated one wall, while sheer curtains softened the windows. Jack stood dripping on the polished hardwood, feeling very out of place amidst the cozy opulence. His host bustled about, fetching towels from a linen closet. "Here you go, hun. Why don't you go on and get out of those wet things? Bathroom's just down the hall there. I'll see about rustling up something dry for you to change into." Jack accepted the fluffy towels gratefully. "Thank you so much, miss." A tinkling laugh. "Oh, honey, miss nothing. Name's Charlie. And you are?" Jack Holbrook. I really appreciate your hospitality, Charlie." "I was starting to think I'd be spending the night in my truck." Charlie waved a hand dismissively, bangles jingling. "Nonsense! Can't have you catching your death out there. Now scoot. Go get dried off before you catch a chill." Still somewhat dazed by the whirlwind welcome, Jack made his way to the bathroom. It was as luxurious as the rest of the cabin, with a clawfoot tub and ornate fixtures. He peeled off his sodden clothes, hanging them over the shower rod before toweling off vigorously. Wrapping one of the plush towels around his waist, Jack examined his reflection in the gilt-edged mirror. His usually neat brown hair was a disheveled mess, his face pale and drawn from the stressful drive. Dark circles stood out under hazel eyes that looked a bit wild around the edges. He ran a hand over his stubbled jaw, suddenly self-conscious about his appearance. A soft knock at the door startled him from his musings. "I've left some clothes outside for you, sugar. They might be a bit big, but they should do in a pinch. Come on out to the living room when you're decent. I've got some hot tea brewing." Jack cracked the door, snagging the neatly folded pile of clothing. He held up the items with a bemused expression. Silk pajama pants in a vibrant floral print, and a soft cashmere sweater in deep purple. Not exactly his usual style, but infinitely preferable to his own clammy garments. He dressed quickly, rolling up the cuffs of the too long pants and pushing up the sweater sleeves. The fabrics felt luxurious against his skin, a marked improvement over his usual flannel and denim. Taking a deep breath, Jack stepped out of the bathroom and made his way back to the main room. Charlie was curled up in one of the armchairs, long legs tucked underneath a flowing skirt. Steam rose from a delicate teacup cradled in manicured hands. Another cup sat waiting on the side table. "Well now, don't you clean up nice?" Charlie drawled, gesturing for Jack to take a seat. "How you feelin', hun? Warming up any?" Jack sank into the chair opposite, gratefully wrapping his hands around the warm teacup. "Much better, thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this." He took a sip of the fragrant tea, savoring the warmth as it spread through him. Now that the immediate crisis had passed, Jack found himself studying his enigmatic host more closely. Charlie certainly cut a striking figure, tall and willowy, with an hourglass shape accentuated by a cinched waist. Impeccable makeup emphasized those mesmerizing eyes and full lips. Yet there was something about the strong jaw, the broad shoulders, the large hands that gave Jack pause. Realization dawned slowly as the pieces clicked into place. Jack's eyes widened as he truly saw Charlie for the first time. Noticing his scrutiny, Charlie's smile took on a wry twist. "Penny for your thoughts, sugar? You look like you've seen a ghost." Jack flushed, dropping his gaze to his tea. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stare. I've never..." A rich chuckle. "Met anyone quite like me before? It's all right, hon. I'm used to it. Not many crossdressers hiding out in cabins in these parts, I'd wager."
No, I suppose not,
Jack agreed, finding his voice. He looked up, meeting Charlie's gaze.
I hope I haven't offended you. I was just surprised is all.
Charlie waved a hand dismissively.
Sugar, if I got offended every time someone was surprised by little old me, I'd never leave the house. Which, come to think of it, is part of why I'm out here in the first place.
A shadow passed over those captivating eyes.
People can be cruel when faced with something they don't understand.
Jack nodded slowly, processing this new information.
So you came out here to get away from all that? To be yourself without judgment?
Got it in one, hun. Charlie's smile was tinged with melancholy.
It's not always easy, but it beats trying to conform to other people's expectations. Out here, I can be exactly who I am without worrying about sideways glances or whispered comments.
A comfortable silence fell between them, broken only by the crackling of the fire and the ongoing fury of the storm outside. Jack sipped his tea, sneaking glances at his host as he worked up the courage to satisfy his curiosity. So, if you don't mind me asking, how long have you been, He gestured vaguely at Charlie's outfit. Charlie laughed, a musical sound that put Jack at ease. Livin' my truth? Oh, sugar, as long as I can remember. Even as a little boy, I was always sneaking into my mama's closet to try on her dresses and heels. Drove my daddy crazy. He was convinced he could toughen me up with hunting trips and football games. A faraway look came into those mesmerizing eyes. It took me years to accept who I really was inside, to stop fighting it and embrace this part of myself. Lost a lot of friends and family along the way, but I have never been happier or more at peace. Jack found himself leaning forward, captivated by Charlie's story.
That must have taken incredible courage. I can't imagine how difficult it must have been.
Charlie shrugged, but there was a pleased flush to those sculpted cheeks.
Oh, I don't know about courage. Just got tired of pretending is all. Life's too short to live a lie, don't you think?
I suppose you're right, Jack agreed. He thought about his own life, the expectations of family and friends, the career path he'd fallen into more out of inertia than passion. How long had it been since he'd truly asked himself what he wanted? As if reading his thoughts, Charlie fixed him with a penetrating gaze.
What about you, sugar? What brings a handsome fella like yourself out to these lonely roads on such a miserable night?
Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair.
Would you believe I was running away from my problems? Had a nasty breakup last week. Came home early to surprise my girlfriend and found her in bed with my best friend.
Charlie clicked her tongue sympathetically. Oh, honey, that's rough. No wonder you looked so lost when you showed up on my doorstep. Yeah, well, I guess I thought if I drove far enough I could outrun the hurt, Pretty stupid in hindsight. A warm hand covered his own, giving a comforting squeeze. Now, sugar, don't you go beating yourself up. We all do crazy things when our hearts are broken. The important thing is you're safe now. Jack managed a wan smile, oddly comforted by the gentle touch. Thanks. I guess I just felt so, betrayed. Like everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. Made me start questioning all my choices, Charlie nodded sagely. Oh, honey, do I ever. Sometimes it takes having the rug pulled out from under you to realize you've been walking on quicksand all along. They lapsed into contemplative silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Jack found his gaze drawn to Charlie's face, marveling at the play of firelight on those delicate features. There was something mesmerizing about the dichotomy, strength and softness intertwined in a way he'd never encountered before. As if sensing his scrutiny, Charlie's lips curved in a coy smile. Like what you see, sugar? Jack flushed, caught out in his staring. You're very beautiful, he stammered, immediately wanting to kick himself for how awkward it sounded. But Charlie just laughed, eyes twinkling with mirth.
Why, thank you, darlin'. It's not often I get to play hostess to such a charming gentleman caller these days.
The teasing lilt to Charlie's voice emboldened Jack.
Well, it's not often I get rescued by such a captivating hostess, especially one with such impeccable taste and decor,
he added, gesturing to the eclectic surroundings. Charlie preened a bit at the compliment. Oh, this old place? Just a hodgepodge of things that caught my eye over the years. I like having a little bit of everything. Keeps life interesting, don't you think? Jack nodded, taking in the curious mix of masculine and feminine touches throughout the cabin. It suits you. Defies easy categorization, just like its owner. That earned him another musical laugh. Aren't you the smooth talker? I think I like you, Jack Holbrook. A warm glow of pleasure suffused Jack at the words. It had been a long time since he'd felt so at ease with someone, especially a virtual stranger. There was something about Charlie that put him completely at ease, allowing him to be more open and honest than he had in years. So tell me, sugar, Charlie said, leaning forward conspiratorially. Now that you've run away from your old life, any idea what you want to run towards? Jack blinked, caught off guard by the perceptive question. Honestly, I haven't thought that far ahead. I've been so focused on what I'm leaving behind, I haven't really considered where I'm going.
Charlie nodded sagely. That's often the way of it. Sometimes we get so caught up in running away that we forget to chart a new course. But you know what they say? When one door closes, another opens. Maybe this is your chance to reinvent yourself, be the person you've always wanted to be deep down. The words struck a chord in Jack, resonating with something he hadn't even realized he'd been feeling. How long had he been going through the motions, living up to other people's expectations rather than following his own desires? I don't even know where I'd start, he admitted. I've spent so long trying to fit into the mold of what everyone else wanted me to be. I'm not sure I know who I really am anymore.
Charlie's eyes softened with understanding.
Oh, sugar, I know that feeling all too well. But let me tell you something. It's never too late to start over, to peel away all those layers of expectation and find the real you underneath. Jack found himself leaning forward, captivated by Charlie's words. How did you do it? How did you find the courage to be your true self, even when it meant leaving so much behind? A wistful smile played across Charlie's lips. It wasn't easy, I'll tell you that much. Took a lot of soul-searching and more than a few sleepless nights. But in the end, I realized that living a lie was slowly killing me inside. I had to be true to myself, no matter the cost. Charlie reached out, taking Jack's hand in a gentle grip. The first step is giving yourself permission to explore, to try on different versions of yourself and see what fits. It's scary, but it's also incredibly liberating. Jack's heart raced at the touch, a curious warmth spreading through him. I wouldn't even know where to begin, he murmured. A mischievous glint appeared in Charlie's eyes. Well now, sugar, that's where I come in. What do you say we have ourselves a little makeover session? Let you try on a whole new you, just for tonight. Jack's eyes widened in surprise. You mean, like, dressing up? Charlie laughed, the sound rich and inviting. Why not? No one here to judge but us chickens. Might be fun to see a different side of yourself, don't you think? A thrill of excitement mixed with trepidation coursed through Jack. It was a crazy idea, completely outside his comfort zone. And yet, wasn't that exactly what he needed? A chance to break free from the constraints of his old life and try something completely new? Okay, he found himself saying. Why not? Let's do it. Charlie clapped her hands in delight.
"Oh, Sugar, we are going to have ourselves some fun. Come on, let's head up to my boudoir and see what we can do with you." With a conspiratorial wink, Charlie rose gracefully and held out a hand. Jack took it, allowing himself to be led up the narrow staircase to the second floor. His heart pounded with a mixture of nerves and anticipation. What had he just agreed to? The upper level of the cabin was as eclectic as the first, with a spacious bedroom dominated by an ornate four-poster bed. But it was the massive walk-in closet that drew Jack's attention. Racks of colorful clothing stretched as far as the eye could see, with shelves upon shelves of shoes, bags, and accessories. Charlie threw open the closet doors with a flourish. "Welcome to my little slice of heaven, Sugar. Now let's see what we can find to bring out your inner diva, shall we?" For the next hour, Jack found himself swept up in a whirlwind of silk, satin, and sequins. Charlie flitted about the closet like a butterfly, pulling out dress after dress for Jack to try on. At first, he felt awkward and self-conscious, fumbling with zippers and clasps. But Charlie's enthusiasm was infectious, and soon Jack found himself getting into the spirit of things. "Oh, honey, you are a natural," Charlie exclaimed as Jack emerged in a slinky black cocktail dress. "Look at those legs! You could give some of those supermodels a run for their money." Jack couldn't help but laugh, twirling experimentally in front of the full-length mirror. "I don't know about that, but I have to admit this is kind of fun." Charlie beamed, clearly in her element. "That's the spirit, Sugar. Now let's see what we can do about that hair and makeup. Can't have a glamorous outfit without the full package now, can we?" Before Jack could protest, he found himself seated at an elaborate vanity. Charlie's deft hands worked magic with brushes and palettes, transforming Jack's face with subtle contouring and a smoky eye. A swipe of bold red lipstick completed the look. "There now," Charlie said, stepping back to admire her handiwork. "What do you think, Sugar? Ready to paint the town red?" Jack stared at his reflection, hardly recognizing the person looking back at him. Gone was the clean-cut, somewhat boring office worker. In his place was a sultry, mysterious woman with come-hither eyes and pouty lips. It was shocking and oddly thrilling. Wow," he breathed. "Is that really me?" Charlie squeezed his shoulders encouragingly. "That's all you, darling. Just a different side of you that's been waiting to come out and play. How does it feel?" Jack considered the question, taking stock of his emotions. To his surprise, he felt liberated, free from the expectations and constraints that had defined him for so long. In this moment, he could be anyone or anything he wanted. "It feels amazing," he admitted. "Like I'm seeing a whole new side of myself." Charlie's smile was radiant. "That's what it's all about, Sugar. Peeling away those layers and finding the real you underneath. Sometimes you have to try on a lot of different hats or dresses before you find the one that fits just right." Jack nodded, a sense of understanding dawning. "I think I'm starting to get it. All this time, I've been so focused on being what everyone else wanted me to be. I never stopped to ask myself what I really wanted." "And what do you want, Jack?" Charlie asked softly, meeting his eyes in the mirror. It was a loaded question, one that Jack had been avoiding for far too long. But in this moment, wrapped in silk and satin, face transformed into a work of art, he felt a clarity he hadn't experienced in years. "I want to be happy," he said slowly. "To stop living my life according to other people's expectations. To find out who I really am, deep down." Charlie's eyes shone with approval. "Now that, Sugar, is a beautiful thing. And let me tell you, it's never too late to start that journey." As if on cue, a peal of thunder rattled the windows, reminding them of the storm still raging outside. Jack glanced at the ornate clock on the bedside table, surprised to see how much time had passed. "Oh, wow. I didn't realize how late it had gotten," he said. "I should probably think about
heading out soon. I don't want to overstay my welcome."
Charlie's hand on his arm stopped him as he started to rise.
"Now, hold on just a minute, sugar. You're not thinking of going back out in that mess, are you? That storm's not letting up anytime soon, and I'd never forgive myself if something happened to you on those treacherous roads."
Jack hesitated, torn between not wanting to impose and the very real danger of trying to navigate the mountain roads in such conditions.
"I don't want to be a bother."
Charlie waved away his concerns. "Nonsense. I've got plenty of room, and it's not like I get many chances for company out here. Why don't you stay the night? We can have ourselves a proper girls' night in." The idea was tempting. Jack had to admit he was in no hurry to leave this cocoon of warmth and acceptance, and the thought of facing the storm and the long drive home held little appeal. "Well, if you're sure it's not an imposition—" Charlie's smile was radiant. "Sugar, it would be my absolute pleasure. Now, what do you say we raid the wine cellar and have ourselves a little fashion show? I've got a whole closet full of fabulous outfits just begging to be tried on." Jack found himself grinning, caught up in Charlie's infectious enthusiasm. "You know what? That sounds amazing. Let's do it." With a delighted laugh, Charlie pulled Jack to his feet. "That's my girl. Come on, let's see what other gorgeous looks we can create for you." As they made their way back to the cavernous closet, Jack felt a sense of lightness he hadn't experienced in years. For this one night, he could leave behind all the baggage and expectations of his old life. Here, in this cozy cabin with his enigmatic new friend, he was free to explore sides of himself he'd never dared to acknowledge before. The storm might still be raging outside, but within these walls, Jack had found an unexpected shelter, and just maybe, the first steps towards a whole new life.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!